My wife was talking to a friend of hers who told her that she had started taping her mouth shut while she was sleeping, and it had really helped her. We had never heard of such a thing. So we went to see if there were any YouTube videos about this subject, and there were lots of them by dentists and myofascial therapists and experts recommending taping your mouth shut while you sleep to force yourself to breathe through your nose while you're sleeping. Some of the results that supposedly people get from this, from doing this, taping their mouth shut, is you'll feel better, you'll be better able to concentrate, you'll snore less, maybe prevent sleep apnea, you'll feel less anxiety, you'll be smarter, you have more oxygen to your brain, fewer learning disabilities, fewer cavities, less gum disease, better immune function, better digestive function, better sleep, better physical condition. And one of the points that one of them wanted to make is that two of them actually made this point, was that mouth breathing is very rare in the animal world. And apparently making sure that your child sleeps with their mouth closed is really important, because if they breathe with their mouth open while they're sleeping, it can cause developmental issues, airway issues, downward forward growth of the face. The face isn't as good looking. The way your teeth come together isn't as good. There's more of a propensity for gum disease, cavities, crooked teeth, bad breath, narrower mouth, smaller airways, narrower palate. They'll get sick more, and they'll be more likely to develop obstructive sleep apnea. Now that is a lot of result from something that seems really no big deal, whether you breathe through your mouth or your nose while you're sleeping. So my question was, how can that be? And several of them answer that question. How can something so simple and unimportant, seemingly unimportant, have such a dramatic effect on people? And here's one of the answers, is that when you breathe through your mouth, you exhale too much CO2, which you would think would be no big deal. You don't really need CO2, right? You need oxygen. But actually that's not the case. I didn't realize this. So you have oxygen in your blood, but to get it from the bloodstream into the muscles and organs and tissues, including the brain, requires carbon dioxide. It's called the Bohr effect, B-O-H-R, named after the guy that came up with it. So when you breathe through your mouth, it reduces blood flow to the brain. And if you're doing that all night long in your sleep, it's not good. Not just in your brain, but your whole body, everything. So in other words, it can affect everything. That's why there's so many effects to this simple thing. Also, nasal breathing increases levels of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide increases the amount of oxygen taken up in the blood. So you get more oxygen in the blood by breathing through your nose, and you get more oxygen from the blood into the tissues, organs, brain, etc., if you breathe through your nose. And if you now don't breathe through your nose when you're asleep, you can train yourself to do it by taping your mouth shut. And they recommend using what's called micropore tape. Something you can just look it up. Micro, P-O-R-E, tape. Not very expensive. They also make this, several companies make something that's specifically made to tape your mouth shut while you sleep. I'm going to recommend 4 videos that I thought, really worth watching about this topic. My favorite one was Less Breath, Better Health, Mouth Breathing versus Nasal Breathing. This is on a channel called What I've Learned, which I love this guy. He does some really great, thorough, very informative videos. Another one was a TEDx talk by Patrick McEwen called Shut Your Mouth and Change Your Life. He was somebody who had asthma for 20 years, and when he learned to breathe right, his asthma improved 60% in the first week. So he's a true believer. There was another one by a myofunctional therapist called Mouth Breathing Causes Sleep Apnea, and another one called How to Mouth Tape for Better Sleep. That was by a dentist. So check it out. This is a strange practice, but really fascinating. and might change your life. If you ever want to ask me a question or just tell me something, you can write to me at adamcon@usa.com. This is Adam Lee Kahn on the Atom Bomb. This Atom Bomb podcast episode is sponsored by Anchor, a podcast platform, the one I'm using to make this podcast. It's super easy to use and allows you to easily create your own podcast. You can record and edit your audio right onto the app. In fact, you can do everything on your phone. Anchor also makes it easy to monetize your podcast and get wide distribution. Anchor automatically makes your podcast available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. You can download the Anchor app for free or go to anchor.fm to get started.